Okay, Pocahontas, section 2, page 53. Naturally, the settlers wanted their guns back, so they kidnapped Pocahontas and held her for ransom. She was 17 years old, but Chief Powhatan didn't trade arms for hostages. So instead, the settlers took her to another colony 50 miles away to be civilized. Can you guys be civilized?
Yes.
I hope so. They taught her English and told her about important things like Christmas and guilt. She was trapped. You can bet they never taught her how to say, "I want to go home now." They baptized her, renamed her Lady Rebecca, and married her off to John Rolfe, the luckiest guy in Virginia. Rolfe got Pocahontas's land. Land came with the package when an Indian princess got married, even a kidnapped one. And he planted tobacco all over it. They had a son named Thomas. Pocahontas couldn't escape. She was scared to death, completely made over from a deerskin-clad outdoorsy girl into a corset and bonnet-wearing indoor lady. Rolfe liked what he saw and decided to take Pocahontas and son to England on a promo tour so he could get more money for the colony and for his tobacco farm. Do you know what they mean by a promo tour?
Nope. Oh, not a full tour?
So it would be the idea of taking her to England to show her off,
Like
to show people what was happening in the colonies and say, look,
So
we
information?
found this Native American lady and we brought her here and we're civilizing her and we're teaching her. And
So like the news?
kind of like the news, yeah. A promo tour would be information.
What if they just use the... Oh, wait. So it was in 1600s.
Right.
We're going to be like,
Okay, so one look at London and Pocahontas knew why the English were moving to Virginia. London was a crowded, filthy, stinky eyesore. Human and animal waste were everywhere. The River Thames was full of garbage. Thank you. The English bathed only once a year at that time, unlike the Indians who got wet every day. Sooty smoke from coal fires hovered in a yellow, murky cloud above the city. The cloud blocked the sunlight. It was so, well, uncivilized. Pocahontas was paraded around London and became a celebrity. She met King James I and raised funds for the Virginia colony that had kidnapped her. Everybody was happy except Pocahontas. She began to cough from the filthy air. At the time, London was a giant petri dish of germs. Without immunities to those foreign germs, she was like a sheep to the slaughter. Pocahontas left London for a cleaner location in the English countryside, but she was still having trouble breathing. No one knew exactly what she was suffering from, but she was in decline. Meaning, what was happening to her health, guys?
She was dying.
She was dying. After waiting months for good sailing weather, Rolfe couldn't wait to get back to his tobacco farm. It didn't matter that Pocahontas was barely breathing. She was loaded aboard his ship along with their 2-year-old son, who was also ill. But they didn't get far. The cold sea air turned the tide for Pocahontas. She probably turned blue. The ship docked at the town of Gravesend, and Pocahontas went ashore to get medical attention. However, there is no record that a doctor ever helped her. No surprise, given that the doctor-patient ratio at the time was 1 doctor to every 8,000 people. Can you imagine? And we think times are tough now.
Was it literally or figuratively?
No, he's saying that according to this book, they're saying there was 1 doctor for about every 8,000 people.
Being her blue, like her being blue.
Oh, very good question. Patrick wants to know if she literally turned blue or if this is being figuratively spoken. Most likely, this is figuratively. They're saying that she probably got even more sick from the boat ride. Very good question, Patrick. And I love your knowledge of figuratively versus literally.
Watch the series Unfortunate Events.
Very nice. The next thing everybody knew, Pocahontas was dead. She died on March 21st, 1617 in Gravesend. She died of either tuberculosis or pneumonia. She was only 21 years old. So much for being a celebrity.
Wait, so when did she get married?
Well, we should have that be one of our questions. Did she get married?
No. Yes. Maybe.
Yes, she did.
She had a baby.
She had a baby with the person that she married. That might be one of our comprehension questions. So much for being a celebrity. News of her death wasn't even printed in the newspaper. Pocahontas' corpse was loaded into a coffin that day and taken down the block to St. George's Church. She was buried in a vault without any markings or headstone. Many years later, the church burned down. The only thing that survived the fire was the church's register of burials with Pocahontas' name in it. Instead of taking 2-year-old Thomas back to Virginia with him, Rolfe left him to be nursed back to health and raised by his brother, Henry. Rolfe had what he wanted, land and the money to keep farming tobacco. Father and son never saw each other again, so he abandoned his son after Pocahontas died.
That is messed up.
Mommy. Pocahontas believed in diplomacy. She did everything possible to foster peace between her people and the settlers, but her life was cut short by the manipulation of others. The deception and the filth did her in. So much for civilization. Pocahontas' son Thomas recovered, grew up, moved to Virginia, got married, and had a daughter. By the time Thomas got to Virginia, his dad was dead. Today, there are 3 million descendants of Pocahontas in England, the United States, and all over the world.
Did you say 3 million?
3 million descendants
Mommy,
from Pocahontas.
That
All
means
right.
her son got a lot of babies.
Okay, thank you for that observation,
Or her
Patrick.
son's daughter got a lot of babies.
Make sure to catch up on the next video where we're going to define some of these big, big words.
Yay.